Hello, thank you all for joining our Hangout today. We're going to be talking about college admission essays. So hopefully that's what you're here to hear about. Once again, like always, I'm Brianna Davis. I'm with International Student. You can find us at internationalstudent.com. And I'm joined today by a very special guest from Mount Mercy University. He actually, this August, it will be his 20th year in international education. We have Amir Hajik. So Amir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Brianna. I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, excellent. Well, he will be answering your questions at the very end, so please use that Q&A feature. If you're not quite sure where it is, it's at the very top. You can go up there, it says Q&A, and throughout you can ask any questions that you have, and then at the very end he will answer those for you. If you're not able to ask your question, or maybe you don't think of one during this Hangout, but you do right after, then he's also our guest advisor for June. So he has a guest advisor page, which you can get to through the showcase. Up at the top also by the Q&A, there's a showcase feature. So there's a few links in there, one of which is to his guest advisor page. So you can go in and ask your questions to him as well after this Hangout if needed. So let's go ahead and get started. So college admission essays. First of all, you'll want to know that rest assured, not all schools will require you to write a college admission essay. However, you might have a few that you stumble across that do require that. So you'll want to be prepared when that time does come. So how many words does the essay have to be? What does it have to be about? Those might be some of the questions that you're asking yourself. And really the answer is going to be it depends on the school. So the word count really, it can be anywhere from 50 words, which is more like a personal statement, all the way up to 1,000 words, which that's a pretty large essay. Typically, you're going to see them run between 250 to 600 words, so not too bad. Also, the description is going to vary depending on the school that you plan on attending. So it could be, about you or about the school, why you want to attend it, or maybe why you want to go into the field that you're trying to pursue. Those are typically what you're going to see the questions based around. So keep that in mind. They shouldn't be too difficult. After all, they're about topics that you know a lot about you and about the industry you want to go into. So they should be fairly simple. But what I've done is I've pulled just a couple of sample questions for you today. The first one we're going to look at is for Cornell. So let's go ahead and pull that up. All right, and then the first question here, as you can see, so it's for all applicants who have transferred or who are transferring. So this says, tell us what you'd like to major in Cornell and why or how your past academic or work experience influenced your decision and how transferring to Cornell would further your academic interests. So once again, it's about why you'd like to go to Cornell. So pretty simple, you should be able to answer this. The second one, as you can see, they get a bit more specific, the second one. It's for those who want to join the College of Human Ecology. So once again, it's for transfer only, but it's more specific to the industry that they want to enter into. So for this one, it's in addition to completing the writing supplement prior that we discussed, we're interested in learning how students address academic or life challenges that they might have faced. Please tell us a challenging circumstance and what resources you employed to deal with that issue. So once again, this is primarily about you. It should be fairly simple. Once again, everyone, they have some sort of life event or challenge that I'm sure they can pull from. Let's look at the third one. Once again, this is more specific to the actual college that you would be attending, so what you'd like to pursue within your degree. This one is, tell us about an engineering idea that you have or about your interest in engineering. Describe how your ideas and interests may be realized by and linked to specific resources within the College of Engineering. Finally, explain what a Cornell engineering education will enable you to accomplish. So, as you can see, the first one was just very general, and then the second two, they were more based upon what you'd like to study, at Cornell. But also, not only do they specific by degree level, but it's also by, you can see the first one are for transfer students, and then the last is for. So it's going to depend based upon your situation and what you'd like to study. All right, so we have a few more samples that I'd like to show you. These are going to be from the University of Chicago, and these are going to be a little bit different. These are going to be as you can see, the first one, it's required. So anyone who wants to apply for the University of Chicago, they have to answer this first essay question. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one. How does the University of Chicago, as you know it, satisfy your desire for a particular kind of learning, community, and future? Please address with some specificity your own wishes and how they relate to you, Chicago, so University of Chicago. So this first one here, it's for everyone and it's required, but beyond this, they actually have something a little bit different as well. They have quite a few different essay choices that you can actually pick from. So they have a number of different essays, some of which actually students who went to the University of Chicago or who currently go to the University of Chicago have submitted. This one that I just pulled one of them just to kind of show you guys. It actually was sent in by one of the students that is in the class of 2015. And you might be looking at this and wondering, oh my, what language is this in? But if you look a little bit closer, it actually is in English. So I'll go ahead and read that for you. It's researchers say it's still possible to read text with only the first and last letters in place. This is because the human mind can find order and disorder. Give us your best example of finding order and disorder. So these are a little bit different. As you can see, as I mentioned, the first one, it's required by everyone. You have to answer it, and then that second one, it is optional. And anytime that you see an optional essay question, I say 100% go for it. It's only going to better your chances in telling the university who you are, why you want to go to their university, and why you would be a great fit, why they should be banging down your door to have you attend their school. So most definitely, if you have an optional essay question that you can answer, by all means do it. It's just going to give you extra credit to tell them a little bit more about you. All right. So whenever it comes to actually writing your essay, what do you need to know? So we're going to share a few tips with you today as well. So let's take the first tip. Okay, so number one, give yourself time, outline edit dates, and have someone else edit your work. So I really, really highly discourage you from waiting for the night before your essay is due to write it. You're going to want to have time, meaning days, for your eyes and your brain to sort of rest between edits. It's going to allow you to have a new look on what you've already written. So give yourself at least a few days, then go back and edit it. You'll want to create a first draft, a second draft, and then send it to someone else to proof. This is especially important if English is not your first language. And then once someone else proofs it for you, go back and do a final draft. And these are the minimum steps that I recommend you to take. Number two, read the question, understand it, and then answer it. So it's also really important to realize that colleges and universities, they have specific questions and they want to hear the answer to that question. So if you've made just a general essay that explains who you are, what you want to study, why you deserve to go to that school, and so on, you're not really following the basic instructions that that school has given you. So you need to know what the essay needs to be about and then answer their specific question. So it's going to be one of the rare times that also I do not encourage you to recycle. If you don't want to recycle your essays, make them original to each school that you're applying for. So reduce, reuse, recycle, just not when it comes to your essays. All right, so let's look at number three. Number three is find your angle before you start writing. So before you even start going into your essay, you need to know what you're going to write about, and you need to find your specific angle. So maybe your angle is about a childhood memory or an internship that you have, something that happened there. Know what it's going to be about, and then just carry that through the essay to really drive your point home. Now, whenever you do this, something else that's really important is to know what type of emotion you want to evoke in those who are reading it. So do you want them to laugh, to be sad? Maybe you want them to feel reminiscent of their own past. Know what emotion you want them to feel, and then keep that in mind throughout the entire time you write. Evoking emotion can be a very powerful tool in getting them to say, yes, I'd like this student to attend our school. So just keep that in mind. Number four, be you. Be creative and make it entertaining. Whenever you go through and you write your essay, just let let a story unfold as you answer the question. Make sure that you are actually writing something that you think that the reader would want to continue writing. If after you're done writing it and you go back and it's hard for you to even stay focused and continue reading it and it's really boring, more than likely that's how everyone else who reads it is going to feel also. So it might be time to go back to the drawing board if that is the case. If you are the writer and you think that it's not your best work, then go back and redo it. There's nothing wrong with that. Make it your best work possible. And then number 5, how will you contribute to the university? So this is a really important one that you do not want to exclude. Do your research on the university and then figure out how you can contribute there. College is a time for students to grow, and as a person, it's going to be really important that colleges, they really express that it's a place where they will be able to grow. So one thing that allows this is having access to new people from various backgrounds with various talents and skills. So colleges, they want to acquire students with those abilities. So the more diversity means more potential and exposure for other students, and it's a really great benefit for colleges and universities. So when writing your essay, make sure that you convey what talents you plan on bringing with you and how you could contribute to your college community. All right, so those are just a few tips for you, hopefully to get you started. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the questions that have come in, and we're going to have Amir answer those for you. So let's take a look at what you have to ask. All right, so let's take a look here at our first questions. Are you all ready? All right. So the first question here, what are the differences between the essay for colleges and essay for universities? And what would make us not only avoid mistakes, but also get closer to acceptance by the university we choose?
Well, in the United States, college and university usually differentiate schools by their size, or if they have graduate programs and doctorate programs and stuff like that. In some other countries, I know that college means actually high school education, or somebody who is going to school for 2 years. So in the U.S., it's pretty much the same. I would think that each college or university has their unique set of essay questions, and as we saw in the examples from Cornell and University of Chicago that have a different types of questions, I don't think that it will be really significant difference between college and university. Maybe some more prestigious schools will be more elaborate and more selective on essay exams and essay questions than some smaller schools. For us at Mount Mercy University, we used to have essays for international students, but we kind of went away with it a couple of years ago. We decided to have some kind of personal statement, which is a much lesser kind of form of the essay with less requirement than some other schools. So it's very individual from school to school.
All right, excellent. Yeah, just out of curiosity, do you know what that word count is on your personal statement?
So we have about between 60 and 100 words. So it's sometimes we receive less, and we are not so selective to say, hey, this one has 59, therefore we will not accept it. For us, it's important to know why student chooses Mount Mercy. What is that specific thing that drew them to see Mount Mercy as an option? For example, our university is also service-based, so many students have opportunity not only to go to school but participate in different service projects. So it's very important for us that students understand that. And in some countries, that's kind of a strange concept, and people would say, "Wow, we volunteer or we do this or that." But coming here and enjoying that part is like, wow, this is really helpful for us. So each school is really different.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Amir. All right, let's take a look. We have another question that's come in here. It says, some universities have topics like, why do you want to study in our university? How are we supposed to approach these types of essays? Do we need to research on that university and find out special features and names of faculty and include that in the essay?
Well, definitely it's good to do research in many ways. You know, writing an essay, if you are applying for jobs and stuff like that, I would always suggest to definitely do the research, because each school is specific and each school put emphasis on different things. You know, so when you are applying for a certain school, it's really important that you know the background of the school, what's the background of the students or faculty and stuff, and that will determine the way you want to write your essay. I think it's very important to, especially when you have multiple question kind of essay that you could choose from, you know, to choose the questions that fit you the most, and kind of find a creative way, as Brianna mentioned, to don't be afraid to express your own opinion. And many universities like international students just because they bring the different background and experience to their classrooms. You know, it's very important to follow directions clearly. Coming from a different country myself, 20 years ago, I came from former Yugoslavia, from Bosnia, and you know, I thought that my English was great. And we, in our Serbo-Croatian or Bosnian language, we have really every word has a meaning. So it's you put those words together, and that kind of creates sentences and essays. However, in English, you know, there are lots of phrases, and I will give you one example, personal example. When I was here for a couple of months, some people were really nice to me. I came as a refugee from Bosnia in the United States, and they gave me some things, and I wanted to buy them one of those cards, Hallmark cards, to express, you know, how I appreciate their help. And the first few cards that I picked said, "With deepest sympathy," which in my language would mean that I really kind of feel deeply about person, and I'm thankful for all what they did. And when I show it to my American friends here, they kind of chuckled a little bit, and they said, well, with deepest sympathy card goes when somebody dies and you want to express your sympathy. So I kind of, on the first few days, realized that sometimes, you know, English language, especially written English, is a little bit tricky for international students and in people who are coming to a new country in general. So always think about that. Think about how to express yourself. Maybe in the first paragraph, first sentence of your essay needs to be strong and describe what you want to write about, and then second sentence you are starting to elaborating why do you think that, and then, you know, your closing statement should be kind of description of what you proved during the essay question and how you answered it. So it's an elaborate process, but I think it's fun process too, because you could be yourself and express your feelings clearly.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so we have another question, and it's more about kind of the breakdown of writing an essay. So it says, we all know that essays have three parts: the intro, body, and conclusion. It equals an essay. What can you recommend for the intro and conclusion based upon your background?
Okay. Do you hear me? Brianna, do you hear me?
Yes, yep, I sure can.
I kind of touched that question a little bit in my previous answer. So it's really important first to not to procrastinate and wait for the last moment, and then get the feel for those questions, and follow directions carefully, because there will be words such as list, describe, compare. You know, those are all different words, so you need to kind of read through that. And I think that opening statement, as I mentioned before, is very important, because you first choose the questions. I would suggest definitely that you outline your important ideas and thoughts on one kind of separate piece of paper, and kind of outline it that way. And then your opening statement summarizes what you are going to write. So again, for each school, it's very important to know what they emphasize on. So that statement needs to be really strong. And then the following sentence should support your opening statement. So you literally follow that and try to describe what you want to say. And then your conclusion should show how your body text supported your opening statement. So it's very important that that conclusion kind of summarizes everything that you write about. Some other kind of ideas I would have is that proofread definitely, not once but twice. I starting going back to school here when I came to United States, I kind of realized I get a tip from one of the professors to, when I do the proofreading, to kind of start from the end and go towards the top. And I said, wow, that's strange. Why would I do that? And he said, that my brain already knows what I wrote about, and that doing it this way, you notice more mistakes and maybe unfinished thoughts, than you would do it if you read it all over again from the beginning. So so in terms of opening and closing, those two would be the most important. And again, they cater differently to each individual school and university.
Excellent, thank you. I really like that tip on reading from the bottom to the top. That's interesting. That really sort of tricks your mind into looking at it in a different way. All right, next question we have is, does it have to be in an academic way? So I'm guessing, does the essay have to be for the sole purpose of academics, or for applying to a college or university?
Well, it doesn't need. It does need to be in an academic setting to some extent, But again, it depends. You can apply some of those to some other kind of types of essays as well. Academic ways is a little bit more kind of structured way. How do you write things? And the things that I outlined in the previous two questions kind of tells you how to go about the essay, not kind of put random thoughts and go back and forth and maybe repeat yourself many times, but really to have that strong opening statement and literally in the body kind of emphasize what you want to write about. So again, like many other answers, it really depends on the school and what they want, but you could definitely use it in both settings.
Right. Okay, our next question we have here is, do universities consider if I write the reason for my fall in my GPA or academic records, or any problem if it is valid, will it give me the opportunity to waive a not so good GPA, or should everything be positive? So it looks like, is it okay if they address maybe why their GPA or their academic records in the past weren't so great? Is that okay, or should it just all be positive and upbeat items?
Well, I want to tell you, working in international student recruitment and admissions, we do look, into every transcript, for international student, and we sometimes notice that student drops, for example, in a senior year tremendously from GPA. From the previous years, and of course we are concerned about that, and we would like to hear the explanation, why that happened, and there are circumstances that nobody can kind of predict, such as illnesses or some family issues or many other issues that arise at the time. But I don't know if the right place for that would be the essay. I think that each school would like to hear the answers on the questions given on the essay, but if it's possible to put it somehow in the body of work and in that essay answer, it would be great. Otherwise, it could be written on a different way, maybe as a personal message or another kind of form, like sending an email to admissions representatives explaining that sometimes students need to go to committees to be admitted if their grade point average is not according to standards of the school, and I bet that those committee members would like to know what are the circumstances and why GPA was dropped for a certain student. So that would be my answer.
All right, good answer, thank you. And our next one we have here, in the essay for universities, should we add the past things that we've done to improve our skills, even though those are not about the field we want to study? For example, I want to be an engineer, but I was the president of my school.
That's a great question, and I can tell you that every school, every university would love to have students who are not doing only academic work, but involved heavily in campus activities. I had a student who was not international student, but was local student, and I could apply this to him. He was looking for some big school and state school, and he was almost ready to go there. And because I also coach one of the sports, I kind of said, well, but you will not be able maybe play this sport. Maybe you could look at the smaller school like ours. And that student kind of listened to my advice and ended up at Mount Mercy University. And he was not only a great student, but he was right away involved in student government association. Each school has number of clubs and organizations, and he was active there. He was participating in events that every school wants students to do. So, you know, all those additional things actually can be a really great way for you to differentiate yourself from other students and be more attractive to college or university, because, as I said before, each school is looking for somebody who is unique and who will not only come and study and as soon as class is over go to a dorm room or a place where they live and never be involved otherwise in campus life. And everybody likes to have those students. So those extra skills would definitely help.
All right, excellent, very good. And we'd had another question that was sort of along the same lines about extracurricular activities. So hopefully that answer gave you the response that you need for that as well. So let's go ahead and look at our next question here. Sometimes universities ask how you've utilized the gap year. What exactly do I include in this?
Well, it depends what that individual student does. You know, sometimes students opt to work that year, or you know, maybe that work experience can be interesting. For example, for a student who is interested in a business major, if somebody works in a bank or accounting firm, even as an intern or volunteer, can sometimes be very helpful. You know, sometimes, you know, international students would also play sports. You know, and in that regard, the gap year is very important because, for example, NCAA oftentimes asks what students do during that gap year, and are they participating in any kind of athletic events, you know, just to enhance their opportunity to get athletic scholarship in addition to academic for that school. I think it's very important to include, you know, and that gap year, what you did, and hopefully it will not be something along the lines, oh, I just took care of the school and stuff like that. And I think, you know, more you do in that year, and you could justify that it's a good fit for university, better chance for you is to be admitted.
Right, exactly. All right, so we have one last question here. If anyone else has any questions, please feel free to send those in. This is the time, because if we don't have any more after this one, we will be ending. So I'm going to go ahead and read the last one that we have here. It says, how much should I focus on my private life or professional life in an essay? What's the mix or percentage of personal life that can be shared in an essay? This is mainly with respect to a gap in personal and professional life.
Well, that's a good question. You know, oftentimes those personal experiences, for example, can be very powerful, for especially if they are specific or different than many other people would recognize. For example, when I came to United States in 1995, I came as a refugee from war-torn country, Bosnia, and you know, I spent 3 years in a war under siege, and in my essays I always emphasize that part, that I survived the war, and that what I did in that period of three years under siege, helping elderly, participating in events just to make life as normal as possible, can be in a war. And I can tell you that later on, talking to people who were involved, reviewing those essays, they were really appreciative. They remembered me by that. You know, they would ask me direct question about something that I wrote in my essay, which kind of sent me a message that they actually really, that was very powerful for them. So not that I wish anybody to be in a war zone and to use that as example, but you know, something really personal experience that you have working, regardless of how insignificant or small it looks to you, might be something that will really trigger somebody's interest, you know, and make you different than somebody else. So I would definitely involve, if possible, you know, in essay answers, some of the personal experiences. Professional too, you know, if you were doing something in school which was kind of unique and neat, and you held some positions that are very important in a high school or church or in your community, you know, it's definitely important to include those. And again, you know, you don't want to look too confident and include, you know, things that maybe don't matter and exaggerate things, but you should definitely be able to include those in your essay.
All right, thank you. We've had a couple more come in. So this individual said, I love that some colleges have early application periods. Does it really make a difference whether you apply early or if you apply during the regular deadline?
Well, I can tell you from a standpoint of somebody who is working with student visas, you know, and such, that it's very important that you apply as soon as you can and work on these. Why? If you, for example, wait till late June or July to apply to go to school in late August, time frame is really tight. You know, you might be accepted in a last moment, you know, but then during the summertime, sometimes people are on vacations and you are waiting forever to receive acceptance letter and I-20 form that you need to get to the U.S. Embassy in your country and get your F1 student visa in your passport. Sometimes, you know, you will receive the I-20 and you will try to make an appointment, because many students are doing appointments at that time. The wait period can be up to a month or so. So let's say, you know, you apply late June, you get the appointment in the embassy for late July, you need to show up at school, let's say August 15th. You finish your interview in the embassy and they said, okay, we will give you a visa, but in most cases you will not get it automatically. They will take your passport and say, okay, we will work on this and you will receive your passport in 7 to 10 days from now. So let's say worst case scenario 10 days, and that's already 10th of August, and you are already looking to buy a plane ticket, and as you know, sooner you do that, cheaper the flight will be. You know, so definitely I would suggest that you do it as early as possible. Sometimes, you know, schools are very competitive, and doing it early and before deadline will kind of make you more competitive and give you more chance to be accepted, you know. For some smaller schools like ours, probably, you know, regardless, you could apply early or late, but maybe some financial aid packages will not be as good as at the beginning, because we received an overwhelming number of students and we don't have any more spaces, you know. For example, sometimes housing situation dictates that as well. If students apply late and school has limited housing options, you know, regardless of you being accepted, you know, then you need to look for housing, you know, rather than living in the dorms. So definitely early is better, in my opinion, working in this field for 20 years.
Excellent. Really great insight. Thank you. Okay, we have one more here. I know I've said that already, but we do have just one more now. All right, so how much do SAT scores or any other standardized test scores matter? How much importance should they be when given?
Again, you know, it depends on the school. And for example, we accept SAT scores, and then we accept TOEFL scores as well as the STEP and IELTS test scores, depending on the country student is coming from. And we have a minimum standards, and even for our small school, minimum standards are pretty high. I will give you an example. Our minimum SAT on a two-part, you know, reading and math needs to be at least 940. And if a student is opting to take just TOEFL test, we allow that as well. And internet-based TOEFL score needs to be 79 or higher. If student has a little bit less than that, let's say 70 or 68, we still might be able to accept student, you know, but student needs to go through a committee to be admitted. So those scores are really important because sometimes your scholarship is connected to your SAT or TOEFL score. For example, in our case, combination of GPA and SAT test determines how much academic money you are getting. So higher the test score and your GPA, more money you get. I had examples when student is maybe GPA is 319 and SAT is, let's say, 970, but 980 or 3.25 would bring students, $2,000 more per year. Times 4 years, it's $8,000 saving. So I definitely suggest to everybody to raise those GPAs when they are doing tests, to do really good prep, not just reading through it for night before, and expect to score well. These tests are a little bit different than we experience in many countries, and they are kind of unusual to work on. So, I definitely suggest that you go on internet and do some preparation and do some sample tests before you take it, because every tenth of the point in your GPA or 10 points more or 50, on your SAT will definitely bring you better scholarship and better chance to be accepted.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. All right, well, thank you so much for answering all of these questions. And thank you so much to Mount Mercy University for letting us borrow you for your 20 years of international education knowledge. It's been very helpful, I'm sure, to a number of students today. So thank you so much. And also thank you to everyone who has attended today. Hopefully you gained a lot of really good tips and insight into writing your college admission essay. And once again, if you'd like to visit internationalstudent.com, Amir will be our guest advisor throughout the month. So if you didn't get to ask your question, or if you have one, maybe you wake up tomorrow with one, please go ask and he'll be happy to answer that for you. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you at our next Hangout.